Segària Castle, one of the most unknown fortresses of the Marina Alta, is pure Middle Ages. Key in all the events that preceded and followed such a fascinating time as the conquest of these lands by Jaume I in 1244, it is also a first-rate witness to the history of the rectory and explains many of the place names that have survived in this area of the region. And it has the halo of the mysterious, used at the latest until the beginning of the 14th century. Then it is assumed that it was abandoned because it no longer appears in the documents of the time. Although deteriorated by time, it is preserved practically with the same architecture that its last settlers left 7 centuries ago, without any intervention or subsequent settlement. That is, in a virgin state for historians. To reveal now the origins and evolution of this medieval enclave located in the current municipality of Benimeli, although its sphere of influence, as we will see, covered more geographies, the City Council of Denia is going to dedicate itself, within the framework of its cultural program for the 9th of October entitled Denia, Discover the Firs, and which aims to explain those landscapes where precisely the Valencian furrows were applied with the arrival of Jaume I. It will be through a guided tour by the archaeologists Josep Antoni Gisbert and Tony Virgil that will take place next Saturday, October 2nd, starting at 10 in the morning, along a route that is easily accessible and in which it is necessary to register, a place called Segària. The documentary sources of that 13th century not only allude to the castle but also to the term of Segària, which encompassed not only the farmhouse of Vainamelum, that is the Benimeli of today, but also other smaller farms or rafales that today are towns of the rectory such as Negrals, the current Sanadai Negrals, or Sacra, Sagra, in addition to another abandoned raffle, Alcaz, and a part of Benairbeg, with mill included. All this geographical contextualization is important because Segària was one of the bastions that starred, after that effective conquest of Denia in 1244, one of the most bitter episodes of the entire reign of Jaume I. The revolt of Al-Azraq, which broke out for the first time in 1247, and that would last intermittently practically until the death of the Christian monarch, which occurred in 1276. Gisbert explains that in the face of the dangerous uprising of that Muslim leader, Segària was used together with 2 other castles in the region, those of Laguar and Olocave, now called Ocave, in Pedreguer, as observatories to control all this vast plain up to Denia, monitoring the movements that could be both by land and by sea in order to prevent any invasion. A mission of watchtower, with magnificent views the same as today to the Mediterranean, to the beaches of Denia and Oliva. Each of the fortresses had peons or military garrisons of very small size but essential for a territory in continuous danger of revolt. As evidenced by documentation from 1275, Segària was subject to the authority of the warden or governor of the castle of Denia, the same thing that also happened with the fortresses of Calp and Pigo. The historian Pierre Guichard is convinced that if the facts alluding to the conquest of Denia are not collected in the Livre dels Fets, which was the official chronicle of the expansion of James I, it was precisely because the rebellion of Al-Azraq did not fit at all with the triumphalist tone of that account written to the greater glory of the Christian king. No one likes to be reminded that his victories have not been complete nor that he has failed to pacify the newly acquired territories. For this reason, everything that has to do with these facts is forcibly silenced, unlike the rest of the conquests. Gisbert adds, all this taking into account that the rectory was a land of Moors. When the Christians took over Denia, they determined the depopulation of the Muslims who had dominated this city for centuries and their exile to other areas, including this one. This is evidenced by an order of James I that gave permission to Pere den Carros so that Muslims could settle in this valley. Rooms that look towards the sea, not the mountains. As has happened on so many other occasions, archaeological discoveries corroborate the accounts of written sources. The origin of Segària is Andalusian. It is a Hizan or Islamic fortified place with farmhouses and rafales, And in fact, there are vestiges of that period, such as a cistern at the top of the fortress or fragments of tanner or ovens to bake bread used in the Almohad era barely 50 years after the Christian victory. However, when the latter occurs, the new lords incorporate important architectural structures to strengthen this military surveillance work. They were the last works of reform of the enclave in its entire history. Thus, Gisbert describes that on the steep rocks of Segària, a slope and a platform of 100 by 20 meters were enabled with firm masonry work where various rooms were built facing the cliff, including one with a vault to store the salted meat, the drink, and the rest of the food for the garrison or pawn, an essential element in the life of these castles. In fact, a document from 1300 regrets that the castle of Denia lacked that chamber. But what is relevant in the case of Segària and what connects these architectures with the insurrections of Al-Azraq is that all these rooms look to the sea, not to the interior, because it was from the plains where the danger could come from. Other documents prove this desire of the Christian hosts to dominate this geography as a license granted in 1273 for the construction of a bridge over the Molinel River, and that implied control over the Camí Real de Gandia, the ancient Roman road and central communication route at that time to Segària. Papers that are treasures, as long as they existed. And in fact, the trail of Segària, according to Gisbert, can be followed in an extensive documentation. The Liber dels Repartiments, the accounts of Jaume I about this castle and its term, or the scrolls located in the Cathedral of Valencia, which were mostly collected by the historian of Denia Roch Chabas and published after the Civil War. One of these scrolls, dated 1306, contains toponyms of the rectory that connect directly with the current ones, including an allusion to the fabulous fountain of La Bolata. Such documentation not only demonstrates the magnificent toponymy of this area of the Marina Alta, but its systematization will help to know and make up a history of the Middle Ages in La Rectoria, which is a work still pending. The reason why Segària Castle ceased to be used is unknown. It simply disappears from the sources. Jaume I died in 1276. He is still named in the documentation of his successor, Per the Great. Then not anymore. Also, the term of Segària disappears, absorbed by the Marquisate of Denia, although the manor of Benimeli continued to enjoy a certain autonomy.